Hey everybody, Miss Parsons here. Today we're going to talk about solving quadratics by factoring. So some important things to know. First, quadratic equations graph a curve called a parabola. The curve has x-intercepts, which we're going to refer to as zeros here. We can find those zeros using factoring. And if a is greater than 1, we know the graph is going to open up. And if a is less than 1, the graph will open down. So these are important things. You might want to write these down. You can pause the video here. So here's an example. This is the quadratic, and this is a curve called the parabola. Our zeros are where they intercept the x-axis. So you're looking at the x-axis here. So one of our zeros is right here. That zero is x equals 1. Our other zero is right here, where x equals 3. Now the direction here, it opens down. So what does that tell us? That tells us that a is less than 1. The zero product property is something that is very important to know when we are factoring, and it's the whole basis of why we can do this. So it tells us that if we have two things that multiply together to make 0, either one or both of them must equal 0. So here's some examples. If I have 4 times x, some unknown number, equals 0, we can do the algebra. We can divide by 4. But common sense should tell you that that has to be 0, right? There's no other number that could possibly be for it to multiply together to equal 0. In this example, I have two unknown numbers. I have x and y. So I know in this case that x equals 0 or y equals 0, or there's the possibility that both of them are 0 for this to happen. So your steps for solving the quadratic equation. First, we're going to put it into standard form. Okay, and we know that standard form is ax squared plus bx plus c, starting with our highest exponent going down. Then we're going to factor the quadratic equation using a factor tree and factor by grouping. And then we're going to use the zero product property to find the zeros. 3 steps. So the first step is I have to get it into standard form. Okay, ax squared plus bx plus c, and it's got to be equal to 0. In this case, it's equal to 8. So this is a no-go. We got to get it to equal to 0. So to do that, I'm going to take it to the other side by minusing 8 on both sides. So that's going to give me x squared plus 2x minus 8 equals 0. So I'm now in standard form. Next, I'm going to factor. So I'm going to do my factor tree. A times c is negative 8. And I know they have to add together to be 2. So I got to think of those two numbers. Multiplies to negative 8, adds to 2. Oh, I got it. It's 4 and negative 2. So I'm going to write my first term down, write my last term down, write my magic numbers in the middle, and start to factor by grouping. So group the first two, group the last two. Find a GCF for my first group. Well, that's x. Left over, x plus 4. Look at my second group. My GCF is -2, and I get x plus 4. I know I'm on the right track because I have matching factors here. So in my first binomial, I have x minus 2. My second binomial, I have x plus 4. So this is where my zero product property comes in. I have two things multiplied together to give me 0. So my zeros here, I know that x minus 2 has to be 0, and or that x plus 4 is going to equal 0. So now I have two basic one-step equations that I have to solve. So I'm going to add 2 to both sides. And I'm going to minus 4 to both sides. So I know in this parabola that it is going to open up because a is 1. And I know that it is going to cross the x-axis at 2 and -4. All right, I got another one here. So my first step is going to be to get it into standard form. I'm going to do that by adding 8x and adding 6 to both sides. So I get 2x squared plus 8x plus 6 equals 0. Second step, I'm going to factor. I noticed that 2, 8, and 6 are all divisible by 2. So that's the first thing I'm going to do, is I'm going to pull out that GCF. It's going to make my life easier. So I'm going to have smaller numbers to work with. Then I'm going to factor this trinomial here. So my ACB tree, I have got 3. It's going to add to 4. Oh, well, that's easy. That's 1 and 3. Okay, if we've taught you the cheat, you know it's x plus 1, x plus 3 equals 0. And then step 3, use that zero product property. Here I have 3 terms, okay? So 2 equals 0, x plus 1 equals 0, and x plus 3 equals 0. 2 equals 0, that doesn't even make sense, okay? Ignore that. That was just a GCF number that we pulled out, okay? So anytime you just have a number equals 0, it doesn't count. So, because we're solving for the x-intercepts, so that makes sense, but just wanted to show you. So here, I'm going to minus 1 to both sides. X equals -1. Here, I'm going to minus 3 to both sides. X equals -3. And those are my 2 zeros. So I know about this parabola. I know that it's going to open up because my a is greater than 1. I know that it's going to intercept the x-axis at -1 and -3.